Welcome to Dem Boyz, a podcast that is in the middle of a coaching search. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of who dat, and one fan of dat win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and the occasional Seinfeld reference.
During this playoff season, we'd like to highlight each week one Saint and one Cowboy who won a Super Bowl with each team. So this week, our patron Saint is wide receiver Marcus Colston, 7th-round pick in 2006 out of Hofstra. Colston spent his entire 10-year career in New Orleans, accumulating 6 seasons of over 1,000 receiving yards and 9,759 receiving yards for his career, and was a member of the Super Bowl 44 championship team. Our patron Cowboy of the week is tight end Jay Novacek. Novacek began his career as a 6th-round pick of the then St. Louis Cardinals in 1985 out of Wyoming, where he remained until 1989. In 1990, the Cowboys signed Novacek as a Plan B free agent.
Does that mean that his prophylactic broke?
No, Brandon, that is not what that means. So just a quick sidebar here. Plan B free agent. Apparently, this was something that began in the league in 1989. I'm just pulling up the Wikipedia here.
Yeah, because that was before actual free agency. It's
correct,
as we know it today.
Correct. So Plan B free agency permitted all teams in the NFL to preserve limited rights of no more than 37 total players a season. If a player was a protected Plan B free agent, he was incapable of signing with another team without providing his old team the first opportunity to sign him again. The rest of the players were left unprotected, and yada, yada, yada. Basically, this led to a lawsuit. 8 players sued the NFL in federal court, stating that Plan B was an unlawful restraint of trade, yada, 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 violated antitrust laws. So, yeah, and this basically led to, as you said, the free agency that we see today. So, anyway, back to Mr. Novacek here. So he signed with Cowboys in 1990. He would play out the remainder of his career with Cowboys, finished his career with 4,630 receiving yards. So not quite that 5,000 mark that we see on Immaculate Grid. Right. He did get 5 Pro Bowls and 1 AP First Team All-Pro selection in 1992. So you can use him for that square. And he was a member of the Super Bowl 27, 28, and 30 champions, near and dear to Brandon's heart.
Absolutely.
I'm Paul the Saints fan.
I'm Brandon the Cowboys fan.
We're your host, Izzy. Let them know what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you lift that.
Mr. Mandelbaum, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time. It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it! It's go time!
It's go time.
All right. Let's get a few housekeeping items out of the way. If you'd like to contact the show, you can do so via email, blesseddemboys@gmail.com. That's BLESSDEMBOYZ@gmail.com. We're still on Twitter. No follow back from LeBron or Coach Belichick at this point. So we're still we're keeping our fingers crossed there.
But maybe they're focused. I think Belichick's still working on the revisions to the manifesto. So maybe a few minutes before he can get back to us.
He might be working on a cocktail napkin to take the Cowboys job, but that's another. We'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. But if you'd like to follow us, whether you're Coach Belichick or LeBron or whoever, we're at bless_dem_boys, capital B, capital D, capital B. You can follow myself. I'm at Paul Elliott _316. That's PAULLIOTT _316. And Brandon is at Ball from Grace. You can check us out on Spotify and Apple. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a rating and review. Appreciate all the feedback. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell random strangers on the street.
Yep.
All right. let's we'll get into the football here. Lot to talk about. We're coming down to we had a kind of a dull playoff weekend, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But here at Bless Them Boys, we do pride ourselves on being able to talk about other things.
But enough about fish. I can't discuss other things,
All right, Brandon, what you get up to this week?
So didn't watch much, but this weekend we had going back. I think this was our 12th year doing it, but we'll get together with like our old college friends in Austin, and have our Friendsmas, as it were. So we did we do a Secret Santa, and then we do a white elephant exchange. So I will say there's a Seinfeld connection here because somebody in the white elephant gifts walked away with a label maker. It was not. It was not the label baby junior. This one can actually print pictures on the labels.
Oh wow!
So it may be a step up. I'm not sure about the adhesive yet. So that could still be an issue. But
well, if that adhesive, what happens if that adhesive gives way, then Newman will get some freebies there.
Some like velvet furniture, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. When the gift was given out at the White Elephant, did someone else at the party go, "Wait a minute, I gave that"?
Fortunately, no. I wanted to bust out with, "Oh, a label maker." But no, I don't think anybody else would have gotten it.
You repeated the name of the gift?
Tube socks. Exactly. But yeah, so I walked out of the white elephant gift. I walked out with a sewing kit. So
okay.
A sewing kit.
Were there any cashmere sweaters with red dots on them?
No, there were no cashmere sweaters. I didn't see anybody cheap.
Okay.
From the Secret Santa, I did walk out with 2 new vinyl albums.
Ooh.
Both on my list of top albums for the year. One was probably my second favorite album was this NJ Launderman Manning Fireworks.
Yeah, you recommended it. You recommended it to me.
Excellent record. Not related to Peyton or Eli Manning, so not related to the Manning cast
or Arch
or Archie. Correct. Or Arch or Archie. Yeah. And then the other one was This Is How Tomorrow Moves by Biba Doobie, sort of like an indie, kind of an indie rock / pop female artist. I guess you'd call her. I don't know if she's like a one woman band or whatever. But she does I know she's like kind of a solo artist, but has like backing group or whatever.
Okay. So kind of a like a Ben Folds 5 type situation.
Yeah, I think so. I think she's got people that play other instruments on the album, but she does like most of the writing.
Gotcha.
For everything. So was really happy about those. Not as excited about the sewing activity, but my daughter also ended up with one from her little Secret Santa, so she said that we're going to have to do it together. So
there you
we'll
go.
see how that turns out.
Well, we'll stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I'll keep you updated. Once it happens, I'll bring some on the show and post some. We can post some from the Twitter account.
Yeah, we'll check back next week. And we'll see.
Yes,
we'll see what's going on.
All right, Paul. What about you?
Well, before I get into mine, I do want to. Today we are recording this on January the 14th, and I want to wish a very happy birthday to Julia Louis Dreyfus. As we know her as Elaine.
Correct.
You may know her as Margot from Christmas Vacation. National Lampoon's
I don't know
Christmas Vacation.
What's the name of her character on Veep?
Oh, Selena Meyer.
Yes.
That's
Veep, that's another show that's on the need to be watched list.
She also will be starring in Thunderbolts, one of the new Marvel movies that's coming out this summer. But she'll always be Elaine to us, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
So I just wanted to wish her I want to say she's in her 60s now, which is
She looks good for her 60s, though. She doesn't look 60.
well, and she also she's a breast cancer survivor. Um,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
she beat it a couple of years ago. So shout out to her. All the best.
Mhm.
Happy birthday, buddy. I watched. I haven't been talking about this show. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, and I've been forgetting to mention it in subsequent weeks. But they just wrapped up their season. Creature Commandos. This is the animated show from James Gunn. It's the first kind of entry into James Gunn's DCU, as it were.
Mhm.
I really, really, really good show. I highly recommend it, even if you're not a comic book person. It's just a really, really well done show. I I liked it a little more. I liked it more than What If. We talked about What If, I think, last week or the week before, which is
Yes.
the Marvel animated show. I thought it was.
Mhm.
I thought Creature Commandos was better, and it looks like it's going to lead into some of the other DCU live action things that they've got coming down the pike, as it were.
Wait,
Um,
DCU or MCU?
DCU. Creature
DCU, okay.
Commandos is DCU, yeah.
Okay,
In
gotcha.
fact, in fact, in the show Creature Commandos, there are references to Batman, Superman, uh, Wonder Woman. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's so yeah. Again, I would highly recommend checking it out. Excuse me. And then I kind of went on a Coen Brothers kick. Uh, so I saw Blood Simple. Have you seen Blood Simple?
I have not.
It's it's their first. So it's their first theatrical release. Um, it's very very good. It came out in 1984. It stars um, Frances McDormand, uh,
Mhm.
who's in a couple of their films. In fact, she's in something else I watched this week. I'll mention in a second. But it stars her. I can't remember who the male lead is, but Emmett Walsh, who's kind of this. You know him if you see him. His
Uh-huh.
character actor. He plays in it. It's very good. You can definitely see from that movie what the Coen brothers would become. Like you can kind of see
Mhm.
like their uh, as they moved along. I also watched their 1996 classic Fargo.
Mhm.
Speaking of Frances McDormand, she was in that. Um, I hadn't seen it in quite a while, and so I just decided to turn it on the other night. And then another movie I had seen before, but I hadn't seen it in a while, is Miller's Crossing. Have you seen Miller's Crossing?
No, I have not.
So there is a Seinfeld connection here.
Okay.
One of the stars of the film is a gentleman, the late great John Polito. You may know him as Silvio the Super from the Reverse Peephole episode.
Oh, he's a fancy boy.
Yep. And he is wonderful in Miller's Crossing. He's actually one of the lead actors in the film. It stars Gabriel Byrne. John Turturro is in it. It's a young John Turturro. It's really just really good. I forgotten how good it was, honestly. Like I had
Uh-huh.
seen it, like I said, years ago.
See,
But
I feel like I loved every Coen Brothers movie that I've seen. It's just like some
yeah,
that I haven't gotten around to
you
before.
you should you should check out Blood Simple is on Max right
Okay.
now, and Miller Fargo. How did I watch Fargo? I think that was on Hulu. It
Okay, I've
was
got
I can't
Hulu.
remember. Yeah, I can't remember. Miller's Crossing. I had to use my VPN to check that one out.
Ah.
So, but excuse me. Also watched a little bit more recent movie, Challengers. Have you heard of Challengers? This is the
Yeah, how was that? 'Cause I heard a lot of talk about it. I think I saw the preview for that when I went to see Dune
yeah,
2. Um,
probably came out around the same time. Yeah, it's
yeah. So I hear there's some like racy stuff in there.
yeah. I believe it's pronounced menage a trois. Yeah. Uh,
Ah. So there
There's
was so this is about a roommate switch, right?
sure, yeah, something like that. Yeah, it stars Zendaya. Speaking of Dune,
Mhm.
she plays a um, she's a tennis kind of a almost like a Williams sister type
Uh-huh.
prodigy tennis player, and these two guys played by I might get these names wrong. Mike Fast, and Joseph O'Connor. They play so they play a pair of guys who play doubles tennis, and they're like
Uh-huh.
they're so and they come up and they're really good, and then they meet Zendaya's character, and they both fall in love with her, and things progress from there. I'll just say, but
Yeah.
the way the story is told is very very good. I would recommend check it out. I wanted to check it out because it got a lot of Oscar buzz. We're kind of getting into award season.
Yeah, this is one that I'd like to see, and the other one that's out that's getting a lot of buzz is Anora.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be
Yep.
really good, so I might try to watch that at some point. Uh,
Yep.
this
Yep.
week.
And we should mention while we're talking about all our send our best wishes out to all the folks in LA right now with
Yeah,
all the
absolutely.
fires and all that going on, and also shout out to the firefighters putting their
Mhm.
putting their necks out there to keep everybody safe. So
Yes.
all the best to you guys. Also watched last night. I watched a classic Hitchcock movie, Vertigo. Have you seen Vertigo?
No, I'm not a. That's the yeah like you said, the Hitchcock one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've not seen
With
that one.
Jimmy Stewart, and there is a Seinfeld connection here too. Do you remember? I can't remember if it's in the implant episode or if it's in the season finale of season 4. It's one of the episodes with Terry Hatcher in it,
Uh huh.
and obviously Terry Hatcher's character in her
Is
episode.
James Mansfield
No, it's Kim
or Jane
Novak.
Mansfield? Okay.
No, it's Kim Novak. I think it's in the finale of season 4. Uh, she's watching the pilot with Sal Bass
Uh
from
huh.
that episode,
Simon Rusty.
yeah, and he looks over at her and says, "That Kim Novak had some big breasts, didn't she?" or something like that. Well, Kim Novak is in Vertigo. That's the
Okay.
that's the connection there.
Yeah,
And then I'm
because
getting
originally it's the Jane Mansfield had some big
yeah
breasts. Yeah,
yeah I
okay.
think when Jerry's trying to like goad her into telling him, he says he
Uh-huh.
mentions Jane Mansfield. Yeah. And then I'll just mention real quick, Severance season 2. I talked about Severance last week, I think, or the week before. Season 2 is
Uh-huh.
coming out this Friday. I saw a preview for it, and there's a Seinfeld connection there. Um, in season 2 is Bob Balaban. You may know him as Russell Dalrymple from
Oh
season
yes,
the head of NBC, the one that
the needs a catch-up secret.
yeah, and the one that George ogles his daughter, played by
With
Denise Richards.
Denise Richards. Yep.
Yep. Get a
I
good
feel
look,
like I saw
Costanza.
Denise. Oh, Denise Richards has been in there because there's a new show out on one of the major networks. It's like a reality show where they're like challenging them to like the
Yep. The
uh is
Fox.
it
Yeah,
like
it's
the
on Fox. Yeah.
yeah. And I think
Yep.
there's a football player in there too.
Cam Newton.
Um
Cam
okay,
Newton's in
that's
it.
who. Yeah, and so I see
It's
Denise Richards and every time I see her, I think get a good look, Costanza.
it's like looking at the sun. You don't stare at it. You
Right
just
there.
get a look.
You get a glimpse and look away.
Look away. All right. Anything else you want to? Any other
No,
miscellaneous
I
thing you
think
want to talk about?
I don't think so.
All right, let's move on to the football of the college variety. So we had the semifinals of the college football playoff. The no, both were, I would say, competitive games. You
Yeah,
may
yeah, they
I
were
don't,
both well out the I watched a lot of the. I mean, watched a lot of both of them, but I thought
Right.
Penn State and Notre Dame both kind of acquitted. That they both looked what you kind of expected. I really thought that uh, Penn State was going to win that game, but Drew Aller had some really rough passes at the end of that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Andy, the Bears fan, who messaged me on Twitter after the game and said, "Do you still want Drew Aller?"
yeah, it was. I was thinking the same
Because
thing. I was like, I don't know if you want.
I was
You
singing his
were a fan.
praises last week. I was a fan. I was a fan. Look, listen, I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong.
Yeah,
Um,
he just had a couple of plays where he just like would throw it into double coverage, and then of course the one at the end that set up the game-winning field goal for Notre Dame was of course the roughest
so
of
what I
that.
find interesting, just to stay on Penn State for a second, did you like all their team is coming back next year? Pretty much, like
Yeah,
Aller's coming back, the two
the
running
running backs are
backs.
coming back. Yep.
I mean, now like Abdul Carter's leaving because he's probably going to be a top. He might be he could potentially be second, third, maybe fourth pick in the draft.
Yeah,
He
just
might be the
depending
first defensive player.
first
Well,
non
I guess if you
or
don't,
first non he could be first non-quarterback too. Really.
yeah, I mean, if you don't count Travis Hunter, will probably be. I was going to say first
That's true.
defensive
That's
player,
true.
but
That's true.
if you count Travis Hunter as a defensive player, then. But anyway, but yeah, I found it interesting that I think the NIL. We're going to see this with the NIL. I mean, we've seen it a little bit with. I mean, I know Quinn Ewers, your guy, is considering staying in college potentially.
Hmm.
Um,
Carson Beck is staying in college.
Carson Beck, yeah, that was a big one too. Yeah,
Mhm.
and these are situations where you know 2-3 years ago those options weren't there from an NIL perspective. So it's like, well, you got to maximize your money when you can.
Mhm.
Um,
And especially
but
like in Aller's case or Beck's case, where they kind of hurt themselves this year, they didn't really lock themselves into top 5 draft pick status or top 10 draft pick. Like
yeah,
you might as well go back and see if you can. You're going to get paid at the college level, and then see if you can make yourself some more money in the NFL.
yeah. What did you? I missed a little bit of the end of the Notre Dame Penn State game. What are your thoughts on Leonard? Now, we've talked about Riley Leonard a little bit, the quarterback in Notre Dame. Um, he was on Rich Eisen's show today doing an interview,
Hmm.
and he comes across. I mean, I think at one point on the show, I just called him the right-handed Tim Tebow, but I mean, he really just he has that same presence about him. Like he reminds
Uh
me so
huh.
much of Tebow from a off the field perspective.
Uh huh.
On the field, I feel like there might be something more there than just like a Taysom Hill type role in the NFL, but um, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
feel like it, he had some rough throws in there as well
Right,
in that game as
right.
well. So I don't know. I wouldn't get too excited about him. He feels like a mid-round
Mm,
pick to me, like probably a.
I'm not. I just feel like he's going to end up being. I don't know. Somebody's going to be the Skip Bayless to his Tim Tebow, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
somebody in the media is going to fall in love with him and be like, oh, let's.
and that
But
happens with every quarterback, right? Like it's going to
yeah,
happen with it'll happen with most. It'll happen with a lot of them.
I I will be. I am interested. We talked about this last week. I talked about Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback. I thought Will Howard played pretty well against Texas. Interested to see what he does against Notre Dame, and because I think he's another guy who could maybe help his draft stock here in the
Mhm.
and because obviously speaking as the fan of a team who may be in the quarterback market, that would and the Saints like drafting Ohio State players anyway, so
Oh, there you go.
we'll see.
It lines
We'll
up
see what happens.
perfectly.
We'll see what happens. Real quick, you are 32-14. Looks like
Hmm.
on our bowl mania. I am 20-26 against the spread. I'm 27-19 straight up. But shout out to Andy, the Bears fan again. He's 30-16. So I can't catch a break.
You can't get to break. Yeah, I will say.
Can't catch.
just getting back real quick to the other semifinal game. I was happy
Mm.
with how Texas played because I talked to people and everyone, and I think the consensus. I know they didn't cover, but the fact was that they played well enough to win that game. They
Right.
had the ball. They had the ball at the one with the chance to tie. The running the toss play is what really kills you in that situation.
Yeah.
And then the Ewer's pocket presence is kind of like one of the things that like really concerns me about him is like you got to get rid of that ball a little faster. He could. It didn't feel like he felt Sawyer coming. I know Sawyer beat his man really quickly, um,
Mm.
but it just felt like there were
Yeah.
a few moments in that game where it's like, hey, you got to speed up the
Now,
clock a little bit.
if you sorry, real quick, if you're talking about Ohio State players the Saints should draft, Jack Sawyer might be one of them.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, we could use a pass rusher like that. But I'm sorry, continue.
Can we draft Jeremiah Smith? Can we just
Right.
draft him and then
Right.
like have his rights for when he comes out? Will that work?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I think the other thing was I got irritated with because the game was tied 14-all. Ohio State had a 3rd and long. The Texas defensive end looks like he got held pretty blatantly. It was such a blatant holding call that even Herb Street pointed out that it was a missed call.
Yeah.
And that was the drive that they ended up taking the lead on. And that was one that I like. I know there's going to be missed calls in a football game, but that one bothered me because it was right in front of the official too. So
as I think I've told you this before. If you're speaking to a Saints fan about missed calls, you're not going to get much sympathy. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
I was happy that they played well. I mean, the defense kind of lived up to the hype. They had the one because Ohio State basically they had the one drive to start the game to go up 7-0, and it looked ugly.
Yep.
Then Texas tied it at 7, and then they gave up the screenplay, which was just everybody dropped too deep and gave him too much run. Gave Travion Henderson too much space to work with there. But other than, I mean, I thought they played well, so I was just happy with that. I thought we had a good season. Probably go in, probably not probably one of the favorites to at least get back to the playoff. I would hope. So
yeah, I think. I mean, if you're going to have Arch next year, right? And then
I mean they're losing a couple of they're losing some good receivers. They're losing, I think, running backs too. But hopefully, but Sark's done a good job of recruiting, so I assume that they're going to be able to replace those guys. So,
well, I know you're losing your 2 tackles, right?
Yep.
Banks and Williams. Golden just announced that he's Matthew Golden, and I saw somebody.
Golden and who's the other one?
Well, you're losing Helm, the tight end, right?
Yeah, but there were two wide receivers that they're losing. I think it was Golden and the his name escapes me right now.
But on Golden, real quick, I saw somebody one of the draft experts I follow on Twitter said he might be the receiver 1 in this draft. I mean, not counting Travis Hunter, but Golden, apparently Golden's going to get a lot of looks,
a lot of buzz.
A lot of buzz when it comes to.
Isaiah Bond is the other one.
Yep.
Bond.
Yeah, I saw him.
Bond.
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah, he was being mocked to the Saints earlier in the season. All right, so anything else on the college?
No, I think that's it
game
for me.
All right, so let's move on.
Longhorns loss.
Yeah, so let's move on. So now that we're for over half of the league of the NFL, we're in the kind of what's called the non-playing season. We just want to go through a quick little news and notes. We'll stick mostly to the Saints and Cowboys on this, but we will talk about the rest of the NFL for a little bit. So just on the Saints real quick. So I mentioned it is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's birthday, so happy birthday to her. But it is kind of a bad day in Saints history. 2 playoff losses in Saints history. The Minneapolis Miracle, thanks Marcus Williams, wherever you are. And the 2011 divisional playoff loss to San Francisco, you might know this as the Alex Smith to Vernon Davis game. I still to this day say the 2011 Saints were the greatest Saints team of all time. Better than the Super Bowl team, just top to bottom, best Saints team I've ever seen. Had Jimmy Graham, Darren Sproles, Marcus Colston, Devery Henderson, Ingram.
Every Henderson, that is a pull right there.
Mark Ingram was Mark Ingram's rookie season. We had did we have Bush? Did we still have Reggie Bush? Or did we trade him? I can't remember. But that team and the defense was actually like
Serviceable.
Serviceable. Like, I mean, the 2009 defense got a lot of takeaways. 2011 defense didn't get as many takeaways. Obviously, we know that they possibly were getting kickbacks on the sideline payments, but yeah. And so we all know what happened the next season. But oh well.
I will say, but before you go on, I will say, like, recently, I don't remember what days it were, but we had back-to-back. You know, they have those NFL moments kind of thing.
Yep.
So one day I saw it was the Tony Romo. It was back-to-back playoff Seattle losses for our teams. One of them was the Romo botched snap or botched hold, and then the next day it was Beastquake. It was like, so on this day, back to those are some dark days for us.
Well, hopefully in the coming weeks we'll have a couple better, at least for the Saints, we'll have a couple better look backs. Memories. Saints, well, both our teams now are looking for head coaches. On the Saints, and we've interviewed we interviewed Mike Kafka, and shout out to I don't have his Twitter handle. I apologize. I don't have his Twitter handle, but somebody made a Kafka reference, so I had to retweet it because I'm like, hey.
No, as we said, no relation to Mike Kafka.
To Franz Kafka.
Or Franz Kafka, that's right.
So the Saints interviewed him. They interviewed Aaron Glenn, who, well, I will say for up until yesterday, Aaron Glenn was probably the favorite to get the job. But suddenly a new contender emerged. We'll talk about that in a second. They also interviewed Anthony Weaver. So Anthony Weaver is the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins currently. Comes from the Ravens. He's come from the John Harbaugh tree. John Harbaugh, I listened to an interview, or not an interview, but like a press conference, and somebody asked him about, I think this was when Anthony Weaver left the Ravens to join the Dolphins. And Harbaugh spoke very, very highly of him. And to hear Anthony Weaver speak, he comes across very impressive. I didn't really know a lot about him. We'll see what happens
Anthony
there.
Weaver, for some reason, my mind went to, is it Anthony Lynn?
Oh yeah.
I was like, what is that? What is that name coming up for in this cycle?
I know who you're talking about. But so going back to Aaron Glenn real quick. Looks like he's also he's also a top candidate for the Jets. I know the Jets have interviewed like 40 people or something ridiculous.
We may get interviews at this rate.
It might. The Jets are also looking for a general manager too, so that probably that doesn't help. But this new contender for the Saints for their head coaching job, Mr. Mike McCarthy. No longer the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. How we feeling?
I mean, I feel like it got blown out of proportion. My guess is that, you know, they were both thought there was an opportunity to bring him back back again. McCarthy probably wants a long-term deal. Jerry's probably saying, "Hey, we gave you 5 years. You get 3." And then McCarthy probably said, "Okay, I'd rather have a longer term deal," and then that was it. That's my guess about how this probably played out. People acted like there was more to it than that. I don't know why. And then I was going to say, no, I found the Twitter handle. It's
Oh, okay, go ahead.
CJ Mordock.
Okay, yeah,
CJ Mordock was the one who chimed in with, or who also made a Franz Kafka Metamorphosis reference.
yeah.
I think people were commenting also a lot about it was like the timing of it, because now you're missing out. Now you have to wait to interview Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson if they're available. But like, I think if either of them actually wanted to have the Cowboys job, they were going to wait anyway. So like, it's not. I don't. It's not like one of those guys got hired. The only one you really missed out on probably is
Is Vrabel.
Vrabel. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't
and
know.
Belichick. And Belichick.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, and that seemed like there was no, because they were leaning towards staying with McCarthy toward the end of the season anyway. Like, that probably wouldn't materialize then anyway. But speaking of new candidates to emerge, the Cowboys had a new candidate of their own emerge, as if we couldn't see this coming from
yeah.
from 5 million miles away. Deion Sanders.
So I want to remind you earlier in the season when the Cowboys were struggling, I think this was right around the time Dak got hurt.
Uh huh.
You and I were kind of like, well, or you, I guess, was like, well, I guess McCarthy's not going to make it. We thought McCarthy might get fired during the season at one point.
Yeah.
And I said, well, are you ready for prime time? And you were quick to dismiss. You're very quick to
Well, I
dismiss.
wasn't. Let me tell you though. Did you read Dion's comments and the phrasing of it afterwards?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it very much reads like, "Oh yes, we absolutely talked. I'm very thankful." And then next week we will get a report about Deion Sanders has signed an extension at Colorado with
Oh
a
yeah,
pay raise.
That's
This feels
yeah,
like a very much you run my back, I'll scratch
yeah.
yours. Correct.
So in all seriousness, who do you think, if you had to put an amount of money that is significant to you, who do you
Oh,
think is going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys when
yeah.
2025 kicks off?
Well, before we go there, I will say that I'm not totally averse to the idea of, because you talked about how you like the idea of like CEO types, CEO type
Right.
coaches. I think
Right.
Dion would probably be that. He's worked with. You probably end up keeping Zimmer as defensive coordinator because those two have a relationship. Like, Zimmer
Well,
was
yeah,
working with him at
yeah,
Colorado.
yeah.
So that's not bad. The question is, who do you get as offensive coordinator, and if he's able to recruit some like hot shot, and it's not the guy that he had running the offense at Colorado, which was Pat Shermer, which is going to be a hard
Eee.
pass for that's going to be a hard pass for me. Um, I think the favorite right now is Kellen Moore, which
The betting favorite, yeah, I
the
believe is
betting is
Kellen Moore.
yeah, the one in house, and I was looking at odds. Um, I'm
Well,
praying that it's not Jason Witten for one thing.
that would be
Um,
odd. Yeah.
yeah,
That would be like the Colts hiring Jeff Saturday. Like that would, you know what I mean? Because like
uh huh,
Witten has
yes,
Witten has Witten has no coaching experience at all, as far as I know. Um,
right,
so real quick, while you're looking that up, let's just kind of go through. So right now, we have the Bears, the Jets, the Jags, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. The Patriots obviously hired Vrabel in the worst kept secret um, uh, of all time. I mean, the whole like interviewing Byron Leftwich and Pep Hamilton on the same day, like
uh
just so
huh,
they could become Rooney Rule
fulfill the
compliant. Yeah, that's it's ugly, man. And then on top of the fact that you fired Gerard Mayo after one season, like not a good look. I mean, the way I think Albert Breer, who writes for Sports Illustrated, the way he put it was like, you ended up with the right guy, but the process was terrible. Like it was just
right.
a terrible process. So,
This was
but
we have our this was like when the Cowboys were hiring, both, I would say both Parcells and McCarthy. Where it's like,
mhm,
we know who we want. We're going to hire this guy, but we have to
right.
meet obligations, and the process
And
is no good.
and honestly, I think Vrabel getting fired last year just threw a wrench in. I I mean, obviously, if the Patriots hadn't already promised Mayo the job, they would have
Mhm.
hired Vrabel last year. So
And
Mayo.
I think they wanted Mayo to succeed, but I
Oh
think
yeah, no, yeah,
things must have been like. I want to know how bad things were in that locker room for it to have got to it for it to have
yeah.
him to have
I
been
don't
fired.
think so. I'll say this: Mayo had the deck stacked against him because, like,
Mm-hmm.
basically, he would have had to make the playoffs this year, pretty much. Like, he would have had to like make the playoffs and like in order to keep the job. I think. But that being said, Mayo didn't help himself either. Like, he had a lot of like calling his team soft in a press conference, and like
I don't know if I
so
would say that he had to make the playoffs, but he
he
he was
yeah
so in over his head, and it seemed so very obvious that he was
right
not cut out for or not ready for this. And maybe he will be eventually, but he was not ready for this yet. And like you said, he self sabotaged, calling the team soft. The defense, which is what he's supposed to be, you would
right
expect to be his strong suit, was bad. And so like he really had nothing going for him at by the end of the season. So
yeah it yeah like I said I'll be curious to see if and where he ends up next. But
I
so
am ready. I'm ready to answer your question. By the way,
okay, go ahead.
if I had to put money on it, I would probably say it would be it's probably Kellen.
Okay, Kellen less is more.
Yes.
So here's my thinking. I mean, they got to interview Aaron Glenn, right? He's a former.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think he will get an interview.
so
I think they probably wait until the Lions are out of it, whether that's or
right.
they're in the Super Bowl and they have that off week, or the Lions are eliminated.
So it looks like right now I know the Bears interviewed McCarthy today. I think the Saints are planning on interviewing McCarthy.
Yes.
He has a relationship. He was the OC for the Saints under Jim Haslett years ago. The Jets, like I said, I've interviewed a bunch of people. I know Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn really wants that job, and I think they really like him. The Jaguar. An interesting name I heard for the Jaguars today was Robert Saleh.
Hmm.
Apparently, so Saleh coached for the Jaguars. He was like, I want to say a linebacker coach or something for a few years under it wasn't Peterson. Wasn't
Was it
Urban Meyer.
it wasn't Coughlin?
Maybe Coughlin. But apparently a lot of folks in the building like Robert Saleh.
Uh-huh.
The betting favorite, I believe, for the Jags is Liam Cohen, the OC from
Tampa
Tampa.
Bay.
I kind of think. Well, we'll talk about Tampa here in a little bit. I got a feeling Todd Bowles might be his seat might be a little warm, but
Right.
we'll see. I do want to mention real quick. Any other coaching thoughts you had before we?
No, I think uh we'll just have to wait and see who the
Yeah,
Raiders end up hiring. Oh,
yeah,
speaking of the Raiders, one name that there have been two names or no, three names brought up that I would not as retread coaches that I would not like, and that is
okay.
John Gruden. That's going to be a
Yep,
big no
yep,
for me.
yep,
Pete Carroll,
yep.
probably slightly less of a big no.
I get the sense, man, that Carroll might end up with a job somewhere when it's all
hmm,
said and done. I don't know.
and
I just get not Gruden. I don't think Gruden's, but I think Carroll. I wouldn't be shocked. Like if if we if you tell me that when the season kicks off, Pete Carroll's going to be a head coach somewhere, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be.
right, and then the other one was Doug Peterson.
Yeah, Peterson's a weird one. I haven't heard his name a lot, and I thought even the Saints might even give him because like he's a Louisiana guy. He's from he went to school at Louisiana Monroe. I mean
I was going
he
to say
interviewed for this.
I remember that he was went to a
Yeah,
Louisiana college.
well, and he interviewed for the Saints when they made the decision to go with Dennis Allen, which worked out great. Um, but that's another story. Speaking of which, Dennis Allen did interview for the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator job. He also, we may talk about this a little later. I don't know if you noticed in the Bronco game the other day, Vance Joseph and Sean Payton kind of had a little spat, if you will. Vance Joseph did interview for the Raiders head coaching job today, so I wouldn't be surprised if Joseph leaves the Broncos, Dennis Allen ends up in Denver. Peyton just brings the band back together.
Get the gang back together.
Get the gang back together in Denver and run it back. I mean, look, I'll say this. Dennis Allen is a very good defensive coordinator. He's a shitty head coach, pardon my language, but he's a very good defensive coordinator.
There's lots of guys out there who they're not up to the head coaching job, but if you just let them be a coordinator, they're perfectly fine.
Right. Real quick, I did want to talk about so it was announced this week that the Jets, the Browns, and the Jaguars are all going to get games in London next year, and I bring this up because these are home games. So these are Jets, Browns, and Jags home games that are now going to be played in London. I believe the Jags game is in Wembley. The Jets and the Browns are in Tottenham. I believe. I could be wrong, but I could have that backwards. But I bring this up because one of the Jets games for their home schedule is your Cowboys. So could be seeing the Cowboys. Overseas. Have the Cowboys ever played in? Have the Cowboys ever played in London?
I want to say once.
Okay.
The one that I remember was against the Jaguars, of course, and they won pretty handily. I remember Dez had a big day. They won that game pretty easily, from what I remember.
One of the Jags home games, because I was looking up, I was like trying to figure out who might get the game. One of them was Carolina. I was like, yeah, just put Panthers Jags in London. That feels like it was there was one game I'm like, man, this feels like a Thursday night game. They just put it in London. Just put it in London too while we're at it. The Steelers, they're going to have a home game in Dublin, Ireland, which that'll be fun.
The Pete. The Pete.
Yeah.
Isn't it Scotland? We were right on the border.
What's that? Is that from, what's that from?
It's from the limo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because he's pretending to be
O'Brien.
Yeah, O'Brien, and then Jerry's
That's right.
Dylan Murphy. Is it Murphy?
Yep, Dylan Murphy.
Yeah.
It's an underrated episode.
Also, in the city? Nobody's ever been shot in the city. Okay, so the Cowboys had one game in London, 2014, against the Jaguars, and they won 31-17. 2 touchdown passes to Dez Bryant and one other one to Jason Witten.
Yeah, and the Saints have played I could think of at least two London games off the top of my head. They played Minnesota last year, and they lost on a missed field goal at the end. But the Saints are not on the Jets, Browns, or Jags schedule this year, so no London game for the Saints this year. It doesn't look like. Speaking of the Browns, and they may never see Deshaun Watson again, which I'm sure they're going to be very disappointed about. But
we're all disappointed there, Paul.
Yeah, we're all coping in our own way. But the Browns could be in line for about $50 million in insurance. I read somewhere today where there's talk in the organization that they don't think Deshaun's playing ever again, period. So
that's a shame.
Yeah, that's from there. We'll go to the Pro Bowl. The All Pro and the Pro Bowl teams were announced. No Saints made the Pro Bowl, and we wonder what the problem is, but that's another story for another day. The Saints did have a second team All-Pro, JT Gray, our special teams ace, very well deserved. I mean, look, there wasn't a lot won a lot to learn a lot good about the Saints this year, but he was a good part of it. The Cowboys had one first team All Pro, I believe.
Should have been
Turpin?
2. I will
Should have been
protest
2.
this. Should have been
Should have
2.
been-
Brendan Aubrey, you were robbed.
Yeah, he was second team All Pro, but Cavante Turpin was first team All Pro punt returner or kick returner.
Yeah, kick returner.
Oh, speaking of which, I just thought of this. Another birthday. It was either yesterday or today. A future patron saint / cowboy, Tyrone Hughes. Do you remember the reason I bring this up? Well, the reason I bring it up is Tyrone Hughes he made the All Pro team as a kick returner, I believe in '94 as a Saint. So when we were talking about Turpin.
Yeah, we could have used him on today's grid, which had the Cowboys and Saints.
I did, I believe.
Oh, you used him.
I believe I did.
I went with Tony Hills.
You didn't go with our guy Tony Freach from last week?
No, I thought about that one too, but I thought so I always think of Tony Hills because the Cowboys have had 2 players, both named Tony Hill.
Oh, you've told me this.
Who've only played for the Cowboys, and each of them won a Super Bowl in different eras of the Cowboys. One was in the 70s and one was in the 90s. And then there's a third player who's Tony Hills, who played for the Cowboys and the Saints from 2010 to 2016. They also played with the Colts, Broncos, and the Steelers.
Okay.
So there you go.
There we go. All right, and real quick on the Vrabel, going back to Vrabel getting hired by the Patriots, just pointing out here, Patriots at Titans next season.
Ooh, homecoming.
That should be there's your Thursday night. That's a Thursday night game. If they both have to have a Thursday night game, make it that one.
There you go, Patriots at Titans.
Yeah, you're welcome, NFL. I just solved a problem for you. All right, let's move on to teams that are actually in the playoffs, or some that are no longer in the playoffs.
50% of them are.
So real quick on our picks, I went 2-4 for the week. You were 3-3. My upset pick did not hit, unfortunately. Packers, just too many injuries against the Eagles.
I was cheering for you, Paul. I was cheering for you.
AJ Brown was so bored he was reading a book on the sideline. By the way, did you see that book went to like number 1 on Amazon within like 3 hours? Did you see that?
I got to tell you,
crazy.
What I don't understand is he says he's been doing this all the time, and we haven't seen this on camera at any point in the season. I do think he's read the book before because he's got plenty of notes in it. Like I don't think he's lying about this being a book that he goes back to. He's got highlights and stuff in it, but the fact that him saying that he's been reading it on the sidelines all year, it sounds made up.
You call Bupkis on that.
I call Bupkis.
You poo-poo. You poo-poo that.
I poo-poo. I'm going to debunk this. It's bunk.
Debunking.
Yeah, it's bunk, and then you debunk it.
But your lock of the week did hit. What was your lock? Ravens? Yeah, you went easy.
Ravens over Steelers.
I
think we've had Ravens as a lock in like 3 of the past 4 weeks on this show.
All right. Will we have it this week? We have to stay tuned. Stay tuned to find out.
That's a tease, boys and girls.
Yeah, I try. You were 3-3, so you were 1 game. It basically came down to the Tampa-Washington game, and I was on the wrong end. So, but anyway, let's see. So we had the Chiefs on a bye. That was brought to you by Patrick Mahomes. We had the Lions on a bye, brought to you by Barry Sanders. Saturday, I did not see this coming. Texans 32, Chargers 12, presented by the late great Jacoby Jones. This game basically turned on that third down play right before halftime where Stroud fumbles the snap, drops the ball. He's running to his right. He picks it up and he heaves it downfield and finds somebody. I don't remember who it was. Nico Collins, maybe. I don't remember.
Probably Nico. No. It was Robert Woods.
Robert Wood. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Bobby Trees.
There's a name. There's a name from the past. So he finds Robert Woods. That leads to a touchdown. So the game went from 6-0 to 7-6. And I think the Texans got a field goal too before halftime. Wasn't it 10-6?
Yeah, it was 10-6 going into halftime.
So so you have that, and then Justin Herbert turns into Jake Delhomme and just starts throwing the ball to the other team. So
because he had 4 interceptions, and I will say, like the first one is him. He's rolling out to the right and then tries to throw back across the field to the other side of the field, throws it into double coverage, and it's picked off. Second one, he's a tiny bit high, and this is the pick 6. He's like a tiny bit high to McConkey, and it goes through McConkey's hands. It's returned for a touchdown. The third one was not his fault. That one hits the guy in the hands, and it bounces to the defender, right?
Yeah, and to be fair to McConkey, the touchdown, the 86-yard or whatever it was touchdown, he makes a hell of a play to catch that ball, and then obviously a great run after the catch. And then probably the boneheaded play of the week, which I have to admit, I thought it was a smart play at the time, and then I realized. So they line up for the extra point. It's blocked. Your boy Dicker, the kicker, decides to just knock the ball down, which would be
great. Hail Mary.
Which would be great if it was a Hail Mary, but unfortunately, on a block kick, that doesn't do anything. The ball's still live, and the Texans scoop it up and run it back for 2 points. So I remember thinking at the time, like literally, it was like instantaneous. It was like, oh, that's a good. Wait a minute, that doesn't work.
This isn't a pass.
That doesn't work. That's a shame.
Yeah, and we talked about the Texans' path to victory here was their defense makes life miserable for the Chargers. And basically, I think the Athletic Football Show was reading off the stats, and they're like the Chargers' quick pressure percent in this game, like allowed given up to the Texans, was like 30%. So like 1/3 of every time he dropped back, someone was in his face within like a couple of seconds.
2 seconds, or whatever.
Yeah, so if those defensive ends made life a nightmare for Herbert. He had a couple of moments where he tried to do too much, and then the offense just like was completely unable to score. Which we talked about this the whole year, is their offensive weapon is Ladd McConkey and who
well, I mean, for a while it was J.K. Dobbins, and then after he got hurt, he got kind of
which is J.K. Dobbins' MO, really.
Right.
I mean, that's been that way his whole career, sadly. But once if they're able to put some weapons around him, they're able to continue to build on defense. I mean, Herbert threw 3 interceptions this entire season, so
right.
I'm not caught out on him yet.
I heard someone, I forget where it was, they described this past offseason, Harbaugh described it as going shopping at the hardware store so that you beef up the offensive line, the defensive line. And this offseason is going to be shopping at the toy shop. Basically get weapons for Herbert. I mean, McConkey was a real gem for them to find. And if Quentin Johnson could just catch the ball, I mean, that would be that would help.
Ping pong paddles for hands.
Yeah, I mean, once he catches the ball, he's fine, but he just got to catch it. It reminds me of Orlando Jones's character from The Replacements. You remember where they put the stickum on his hands?
Yes.
But yeah,
I
that's
think who's the Packers receiver that's like the equivalent of him? Is it Romeo
oh
Dobbs? Is it Dobbs?
no, I think it's is it Watson? Maybe it might
No,
be
Watson.
Watson.
Watson can catch. Watson's the one that can catch. I feel like it's Dobbs who like
Okay.
always ends up with his he 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 can run the route, but he can't catch the ball. And
Anybody
really,
can
that's
just
anybody can run the routes.
anybody can just run a route. Yeah, you gotta
Yeah, but you have to hold
you have
on
to
to the ball.
yeah, for the Texans, I mean, we kind of talked about this, like the way the game played out. In my opinion, the way this game played out is the only way that they could have won this game. Like I
Hmm.
said, you mentioned, like their defense showed up, made life hard for Herbert, and then their offense made enough play. Like Stroud
Nico
did just enough.
Collins did just
Yeah,
enough to. Nico Collins is something else.
yeah,
Joe Mixon was good, except for he had that fumble.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I will say
But
another thing was that Derwin James interception they got overturned too. The Texans were trying to keep pace with the Chargers turning the ball over.
well, yeah, that's yeah. I mean, the Texans' offense was keeping the Chargers in the game for a little bit, but then yeah, they made, like I said, made enough plays. We'll see what happens this week with the Chiefs, but the Texans can't keep getting away with this, man. They just it's like every year they win the division because it's a bad division, and then they catch a team the first week of the playoffs. I mean, the Chargers weren't really stumbling in.
No,
I mean this is literally like the script from last year. The Browns are coming in hot, and they get to this game, and all it is one game, and yeah, just things happen. So moving on here, second game on Saturday, the Ravens 28, Steelers 14, presented by Bam Morris. Yeah, not much to say here. I mean, this pretty much went as we expected, right? I mean, the Derrick Henry is still good. Um,
yep.
the
The
Steelers
just
offense, not so much.
the fact that they because this game was 14-0, late in the
Quick.
second quarter, and then
Yeah, it was.
well,
Yeah,
it was 7-0 for a little while.
yeah,
Baltimore scored again, and then it looked like it was gonna be 14-0 going into halftime, and then Baltimore just picked up a couple of first downs, and then they get going. They score that touchdown to make it 21-0 going into halftime, and at that point, it felt
yeah.
over. That said, the back door was open for a little bit in that second
Yeah,
half.
did you text me Saturday night like, hey, don't leave the door open,
Oh yeah,
Baltimore?
it was 28-14, and I was like, and I want to say Pittsburgh had just gotten the stop and had gotten the ball back, and I was like, oh man, that back door's open. That back door's
Yeah.
open. But the Steelers could not get in the back door. And the thing is, Russell Wilson was just like so reliant on deep passes, and he hit a couple to get them to 14, and then it just kind of tailed off after that.
Yeah.
So just so 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 look, I think we can get talk more about Baltimore when we get to the Buffalo game, but l- let's kind of take a post mortem on the Steelers. Like, where do they
Okay.
go from here on offense? Because the defense still seems like it's fine. It looked like it wore down a little bit toward the end of the year. It wasn't as efficient. They didn't do a good enough job of stopping teams because they ended the season on like a 5-game losing streak or something like that. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
defense wasn't able to get stops. Um, and they're going to have questions about: do you keep Russell Wilson? Do you go after somebody in free agency? Do you try to? I mean, you're not going to be drafting high enough to get somebody elite. The last time they tried to make a move here, like trying to draft a QB in the middle of the first round, they ended up with Kenny Pickett, and we saw how that worked out. So
Yeah.
what's the solution here? Do you run it back with maybe? I think you've seen what the limit
I
is with Russell Wilson. Do you think they
yeah.
bring back Justin Fields here? or try to look for something
Well,
else?
I mean, we talked about this a little bit when we were doing the coaching wrap up. All I have to say, so let me start with this. For Steelers fans who are tired of Tomlin, I get it. Like, I understand. But having had to suffer through 2.5 years of Dennis Allen, I will take Mike Tomlin. Like, I would gladly take Mike Tomlin. I get that his floor is high and maybe the ceiling's low, but when you're a
Mhm.
Saints fan and your floor is lava because you're in hell, um, like, you know, so I would just say to Steelers fans, I get it, but like, just
There are worse things out there.
yeah, it could be worse. To answer your question, I don't think Russell Wilson's on this team next year. Fun fact: there are two teams in the NFL that do not have a quarterback technically on their roster for 2025 right now. The Steelers are one of them. The Giants are the other one. Uh, I don't even know if Arthur Smith is back. I mean, Arthur Smith, I've heard his name associated with the Jets for their head coaching job, which I find odd. But
That would be an extremely Jets move.
yeah, so Tomlin may be looking for a new offensive coordinator again, going into
And that's
next
really,
year.
that's really where his shortcomings have been. He's not done a
Yeah,
particularly good job of finding someone to run the offense. And if he's the one in charge of picking the quarterback, he hasn't done a particularly great job there either
I mean,
since
I
Roethlisberger
kind of
left.
I made a joke earlier in the season. I said, the Steelers are kind of this veteran quarterback. Like if you're a veteran
Yeah.
quarterback, you just end up with the Steelers on a 1 year deal at some point.
Mhm.
So I kind of was like, well, if they want Derek Carr, they can have him. But
Sam Darnold, anybody? Huh?
Sam Darnold, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about him in a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I, I feel like we know what the Steelers are going to be until proven otherwise. Like we know they're going to be in contention. They'll have a
They'll have a
winning
winning.
record.
Yep.
Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean the Steelers have had what, three coaches in the last 50 years or something ridiculous
Yep.
like that. So I mean, it's uh, to answer the question, I would, if I were them, I would consider maybe bringing Justin Fields back. I don't think Russ. I think Russ is cooked. I don't think he's.
Oh yeah.
I yeah. I mean,
We
and then
I think you've seen the best of what that could possibly be. Like
right.
there, what else is going to be there with Russ at this point in his career? You might as well. I mean, Fields wasn't terrible when he was starting at the beginning of the
He's
year.
4-2. I mean, he's
Yeah,
like I I don't know, but I would say if Arthur Smith leaves, then Fields, maybe you don't make like I think I think Arthur Smith may have had a lot to do with Fields' success, if that makes sense. Like the way the offense that Arthur Smith runs, which apparently I was just reading something earlier. Apparently, Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson did not see eye to eye, which for Russell Wilson, that's becoming a running
yeah. See,
theme.
I'm picking up on a trend here.
Yeah, there's a common denominator here, but yeah, I don't know. It's. I mean, like I said, for Pittsburgh, uh, we know what they're going to be until we're proven otherwise. I mean, look, Ben Roethlisberger is not walking through the door, so we'll see. Let's move on here to the Sunday games. We'll start with Bills 31, Broncos 7, brought to you by Von Miller, who played in this game, I believe.
Mhm.
The Broncos came out, hey,
It looked
looked
like
pretty good.
they were going to cover for
I
for a little
mean,
bit
I
for the
mean
first
that
half.
that that pass. Look, that pass from Nix to Franklin, that first touchdown was a
Hmm.
thing of beauty. Was a thing of beauty for sure. I but then yeah, the Bills just kind of took over from there. I you know watching this game, it just felt like Buffalo settled in, did what they had to do, and then they're going to move on. Uh, Allen played. I mean, he played an Allen type game. I mean, he wasn't like
Yeah.
I don't really know much else to say about this one. I think the Broncos. I think of all the teams that lost this weekend, I think the Broncos probably have the brightest future because they have their quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have a good infrastructure in place. I mean, Peyton. And again, I know I'm biased, but like Peyton's going to have them ready. I think they kind of fall into the Chargers bucket of now you just got to get some weapons around Knicks.
And the
Like
cupboard's not completely bare. They've still got like Cortland
no,
stuff,
yeah,
Cortland Sutton,
yep,
Jaleel
him too. Yep.
McLaughlin. They've gotten some. They've got a couple of running backs that have a little pop to them. So like they're they're on the upswing. And of course they've got the defense too, which is one of the.
Yeah,
I was actually.
but
I think of all the things that I was most surprised by was it seemed like Buffalo was able to. Um, I think this speaks pretty well of Joe Brady. Is like they were able to kind of create space and get guys open in creative ways, like especially across the middle of the field and everything. Like
yep,
they had some. Like they would have. I remember one play was just they had like three guys lined up to the left. They had somebody like a fourth guy shoot out on like that jet motion right before the snap, um, and then that
yeah,
caused some communication issues. And then you got like I want to say it was like Khalil Shakir wide open across the middle, and so they were
yeah,
able to kind of create space for guys. James Cook looked pretty good from what I saw in this
yeah.
game.
I was just looking at the stats: 120 yards rushing for
Yeah,
James Cook. I mean,
and
Allen was efficient, 20 of 26,
Denver's not.
272.
I mean, and that's against a good defense. Like what
Right.
we have said is possibly the best defense in the league most of the season.
Yeah.
Um,
That this Buffalo Baltimore game is going to be one for the
oh, that's good.
books
Hmm.
coming up. Also, real quick, going back to the Baltimore game. Um, Todd Munkin, their offensive coordinator. So Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator for Buffalo, has been
Hmm.
getting some interviews. He's high on the Saints' radar, I believe, because he used to coach with the Saints
He was also in
several years.
LSU. He was the one that went to that was
Yeah,
a
he was there
LSU
with the he was there for the Burrow,
Burrow.
Chase, Jefferson. Yep, he was the passing game coordinator. I think was his title at the time. Um, but I bring this up because Todd Munkin has not been getting a lot of interviews, and he really should be. I mean, he does some things offensively. They were running like Wildcat with Derrick Henry taking the snap, having Lamar Jackson in motion. Were you talking about like Buffalo putting people in motion to confuse the defense? I
Hmm.
mean, Baltimore's got the two cheat codes in the backfield. I mean, they got
Right.
Lamar and Henry and Munkin. I mean, I, I,
He's unlocked I think aspects of uh, Lamar's game that weren't necessarily there in the Greg Roman offense. Right.
right, right. That's why I'm curious as to why like he's not getting. And he hasn't been a head coach in the NFL, but he was a head coach in college at Southern Miss and
Hmm.
was successful there, and has been around the NFL for a while. So we'll see. But yeah, this Buffalo Baltimore game is going to be pretty good coming
Pretty
up.
good.
Uh, moving on here to the NFC games. Again, kind of weird how they had the AFC games 3 in a row and then the NFC
Hmm.
games. But Eagles 22, Packers 10, presented by the late great Reggie White. Yeah, this was one where every time you thought the Packers were going to kind of get back in it, something would happen. Dallas Goddard just
Stiff arm the
abused.
guy into the shadow
So
realm.
so 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 the guy he stiffed arm was Valentine. I forget
Uh-huh.
his first name.
That was a
Rich
Valentine's Day
Eisen.
massacre right there.
Well, Rich Eisen said it was the Valentine hasn't been abused that bad in Philadelphia since Billy Ray Valentine and Trading Places. Uh,
Oh, there's your
so for
callback.
if anybody's seen the movie Trading Places from years gone by. But yeah, I mean, look, this was just a typical Eagles. I know you hate these Eagles games where they just kind of lean on Saquon and
Jalen Hurts has the easiest job in the league. That guy doesn't have to do squat. Let's go look at his passing line. Why don't we?
I'll pull it up right here.
No wonder AJ Brown's reading self-help books on the sideline. They can't throw the ball.
Yeah. By the way, AJ Brown only had 1 catch for 10 yards.
Yeah.
For what that's.
So that explains a lot.
And who catches the first touchdown of the game? Jahan Dotson. Thank you very much. Saquon 119 yards rushing. Jalen Hurts was 13 of 21 for 131 yards with 2 touchdowns.
So he had slightly more passing yards than Saquon had rushing. And I would say 20 of that was from Dallas Goedert stiff arming Valentine into another dimension.
Jordan Love didn't help the Packers out. He had 3 interceptions.
Man, that one to Zach Bond that's unforgivable, dude. Like, he just drops back and throws it straight to the defender.
By the way, Saints legend Zach Bond. Good thing the Saints didn't need him. All pro, first team All Pro linebacker there.
Yeah, y'all just misusing him.
We weren't doing something right. No, I'll tell you that. By the way, quick shout out to Josh Jacobs because like he single-handedly tried to keep the Packers in this game. Like the old Earl Campbell run with the guy pulling his jersey and like that was.
And then he didn't even get in. I had to pull that one back.
Yeah, I would have just given it to him on effort.
On principle. Yeah, he deserved the touchdown there just based on the effort.
But with the Packers, real quick, just kind of a quick postmortem on them. I mean, it feels like I told you I wanted to run through this real quick. So we know about their 5 losses now. 2 to the Lions, 2 to the Vikings, and 2 to the Eagles. Mm-hmm. And then the 1 to the Bears in the last week. Here's the teams the Packers beat this year.
Okay.
The AFC South. Okay. The Rams in October. So this is like
before they were at full strength.
Right. The Cardinals. They beat the Cardinals by 3 touchdowns.
Okay.
The Bears. So they are a blocked field goal away from being winless in their division. Because if they don't beat the Bears that first game, they go winless in the NFC.
Which was a close game.
That was the game. They had to block the field goal at the end to beat the Bears. This was, I think, 2 weeks after the Bears lost the Hail Mary game. But anyway, their best win, their 2 best wins or 3 best wins, I guess, were they beat the 49ers by 28. That was when the 49ers were just depleted.
Really? Yep.
They beat the Dolphins on Thanksgiving night, which that was a cold game.
You had Dolphins coming to Lambeau, so.
Well, I picked the Dolphins in that game, so that shows how smart I am.
I remember that.
And then their best win was probably in Seattle, late in the season when they Sunday night game when they went in there and beat them by 17. And then the next week they beat some crappy team 38-0. Who will remain nameless. So I mean, look, we'll see what they do in the offseason.
Are we sold on Jordan Love as good?
Well, that was going to be. I think we put him in the Herbert category, right? Of like, we got to see something. Like now we're at the point of your career where it's like, okay, can we? Let's
maybe prove that you can play when Toyotathon's not going on.
Yeah.
The Toyotathon ended before this game.
Well, there you go.
We should have known, Paul.
We should have known. Let's move on to the
game.
Sunday.
The one.
The best game of the week. Yeah, Commanders 23, Buccaneers 20, presented by DJ Swearinger. I did miss the end of this game, so I missed the best part. I really, I mean, I really thought Baker was going to kind of will the Bucks to this win, and it turned out to be Jaden Daniels willing the Commanders to the win.
We did talk about this game before because we were recapping some of our drafts, and last week we drafted games, and we decided that I won this draft because I drafted the only game that was actually close.
Yeah, we were looking at our previous drafts, and you we ended up drafting. I had all the AFC games, you had all the NFC games, not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
That's how it went, but this game was this is one of those games, for I'm trying to think of like another game where you had like a rookie quarterback, go on the road in the playoffs, play like this. I mean, it doesn't happen every year, obviously.
I will say, this game, like the biggest play of this game, really was the botched fake handoff that Baker had where he fumbled. That because they I wouldn't say they didn't have a commanding lead or anything, but they were ahead, and it looked like they were going to be able to continue moving the ball, and then you have that play deep in your own territory, and give Dan Quinn credit for continuing because he kept going for it, 4th and goal, and a couple of times they were stopped, and then that was the time where the dam finally broke and they were able to actually get into the end zone.
I was really, when I was watching the highlights the next day, just really came away impressed with Daniels and just how he handled the game. So, and I should mention, you won't like this, but NFC East was 2-0. The NFC North was 0-2 this week.
Well, that's what happens when you play in a good division. When you're challenged every week.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Unlike some teams. I will say, like the Buccaneers, like I've kind of them and the Falcons this whole year. I've been a little wary of them just because I think both of them have pretty bad defenses, and so I think that was an issue here. Is they had a few moments, but you could see where sometimes it was just McLaurin was getting away and running free, or who's their other receiver
for the Bucks?
For the Commanders? No, for the Commanders.
McLaurin and Brown.
De'Ami Brown. Like those two guys, kind of. There were plenty of times where they were just kind of like running wide open wide open in space. So
I mean,
if you're the Buccaneers, do you consider moving on from Bowles and replacing him with Cohen if you're gonna?
Well, I brought this up. We talked earlier about Cohen being at the top of the list for the Jaguars. I think the Bucks their hand might be forced a little bit because if they think they're going to lose Cohen, and obviously Cohen's done a tremendous job with Baker, I'm wondering if they just kind of make that move now. Now the problem there is if you get rid of Bowles, you're getting rid of your defensive coordinator a little bit, like because he is the defensive play caller, as far as I know.
Given how their defense played, are you really losing that much?
That's a fair point. Because the other thing too, if Cohen leaves to go to Jacksonville, he's probably bringing some of those folks with him, right, on the staff. So it's something to keep an eye on. I don't know. The Bucks. I will say again, speaking as a fan of a team that sees the Bucks twice a year, the Bucks always seem to be one step ahead. Like the Saints signed Derek Carr, they signed Baker Mayfield. Like the Saints can't draft good players to save their life. The Bucks are drafting Bucky Irving and like all their offensive line. Like Tristan Wirfs was a draft pick of theirs, and like their entire offensive line was built through the draft, basically.
Are they trading up to get those players?
No, they're just doing a good job of scouting. Basically, is what it is. But yeah, so speaking as a Saints fan, and we talked about this last week. Like the Bucks are going to be around for a while, as in terms of competitive, and unless something crazy happens. All right, moving on to the Monday night game here that they had to move to Arizona because of the fires in Los Angeles. The Rams came out with a win here, 27. Rams 27, Vikings 9. Brought to you by Sam Bradford. So we talked about the Packers. Like the Packers losing, I did not see this coming from the Vikings at all. And part of it, I think, I don't want to downplay the emotional aspect of the Rams, like everything that's going on in LA right now and them having to move the game and all that. I did get a sense. Go ahead.
Emotional. I will say the emotion. If there was an emotional aspect, it certainly didn't help the Chargers.
Well, fair enough. That you make a fine point. But yeah, I don't know. I felt watching a little bit of the pregame last night. It just felt like the Rams had something going there. And look, I mean, having Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, that helps too.
And McVay.
And McVay. Yeah, like that helps too. And look, they rested their guys in week 18 and looks like it may have worked out. Now, I did read that their tight end, Higbee, apparently he was coughing up blood after the game, had to go to the hospital. Don't know what apparently he's fine. He's okay. Like everything turned out fine, but I don't know, something to keep an eye on there. For the Vikings, it looks like the Sam Darnold experience is over. I don't know if did you see Kevin O'Connell's comments after the game?
I didn't, but I just know that to franchise tag him, you'd have to pay him $40 million, which would eat up 2/3 of their available cap space for the season. I don't see, especially if you're counting on McCarthy to be the answer long term. I don't see how you can stomach that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think I read McCarthy's rehab's going well.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were in a bind, like if the McCarthy injury turned out worse than they thought, then Darnold may have some leverage, but I don't see it. I mean, O'Connell can just go out and get somebody else. You know what I mean? Like Russell. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Jesus. I mean, I don't know, but
you're gonna try to interest them in Derek Carr.
I mean, listen. Look at the tape. Look at the tape, right?
He's put out so much good tape, right, Paul?
He put out 2 weeks worth of good tape. Week 1 and week 2. That was about it. But yeah, good for the Rams. I'll say, just in closing here, good for them to.
Yeah, they were able to heat. They were able to heat him up a lot. It looked like they were bringing a lot of those corner blitzes and just getting free rushers off the edge a lot of times.
Well, and again, a team that drafts well. I mean, there's a team that lost Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Go out in the draft, and they get Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, and lo and behold, their defensive line is pretty good.
Worked out pretty well.
Worked out pretty well for them. So good for them. We'll see what happens with. I know you'll be rooting for them this week.
Absolutely,
considering who they're playing.
Yeah, I need your theory of beating a team twice is difficult to.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we preview their game here in a minute. But yeah, we'll see. Anything else you want to talk about with the games this past week?
I think that's it.
All right, let's move on to the draft order. So we went through picks 1 through 18 last week, and we forgot to mention when we did our draft of which team may get the overall number 1 pick, neither of us said the Tennessee Titans.
We failed.
So that's a failure on our part. Let me pull this up real quick. I had the Giants, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Browns. So I feel pretty good because I had the Browns were 2. I had 2, 3, and 4 on mine when I picked. So
I know I had the Bears.
You had the Bears, Panthers, Jags, and Raiders. So yeah, you had Jags and Raiders 5 and 6. Panthers were 8. Bears were 10th. So yeah, you did okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I actually won one on that.
I think you did win this one.
I think I actually did win one. Real quick, so we went through picks 1 through 18. So just to go through picks 19 through 24. So for the teams that lost this past week, pick 19 will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 20 is the Denver Broncos. 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. 22, the Los Angeles Chargers. Almost said San Diego Chargers. 23, the Green Bay Packers. And 24, the 14 and 3 Minnesota Vikings. We'll be picking 24th. Also did we mention on the coaches that would get fired? Did we talk about that draft?
No, we haven't.
And how you got 3 out of 4?
3 out of 4.
Pretty so when we did the coaches likely to be fired, I probably should have mentioned this when we were talking about the coaches earlier, but you had Antonio Pierce, Mike McCarthy, and Gerard Mayo. The one you missed on was Mike McDaniel.
They gave him one more year.
Yeah, they gave him one more chance. I got one. I had Doug Peterson, which I think that I want to say I had the first pick in this draft, and that seemed like the low-hanging fruit. So
you mean the guy who was told that he was going to be fired right before the Lions game?
Yeah, he had to beat the best team in the NFL to save his job.
Well, they did only give up 50 points, so
yeah, well,
he came close.
I also said Brian Daboll, Kevin Stefanski, and Zach Taylor, all of those folks. Now, I will say the Browns did move on from their offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey.
And the Bengals also moved on.
Yeah, from their defensive coordinator. On the Browns, real quick, the reason I highlighted them, they did interview Clint Kubiak for their offensive coordinator job, but they ended up promoting Tommy Rees, former Notre Dame quarterback Tommy Rees, to their offensive coordinator. They announced that today, so they promoted from within. So, for whatever that's worth.
For what it's worth.
So, speaking of drafts, it's still a little chilly here in the Houston area, and I think I feel a draft coming on.
I feel a draft, Paul.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
All right, so with the playoff field now down to the final 4 in each conference, that leaves us with 16 possible Super Bowl matchups. So, Brandon, what you and I are going to do, we are not going to draft all 16. We are going to do 4 apiece like we usually do. We're just going to draft I guess however you want to define this, the ones you look forward to the most possible exciting. We can probably disqualify all the possible Texans Super Bowl matchups, but
no one wants to see that.
I don't want to speak for you, but I think you've probably. I think I got the opportunity to go first last time, so I'll give you the coin toss here, as it were.
Okay, I'm gonna take the first pick here because there's one that I really want in this.
Okay, go ahead.
So this is, I think, the ideal matchup because it would be between 2 teams that have never won a Super Bowl.
Okay,
I'll take Lions Bills.
Yeah, that would have been my my
it's a good
choice is
it's a good matchup, and then you kind of don't feel bad no matter who ends up winning, right? It's a kind of a no lose
right.
situation as long as we get it. You got to feel like you're probably going to get a good game, and no matter who wins, you're going to get a fan base that's a long suffering fan base that's actually able to enjoy one.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, the Super Bowl this year is in New Orleans, so uh, Lions and Bills fans invading the French Quarter would be that'd be something. Be something to be something to see. So I'm going to we're going to do a
Yeah, let's
snake.
do it
Okay.
like we usually do.
Okay. So I'm going to stick with the Lions, but I'll go Lions Chiefs. I think this would be this to me would be very intriguing. You have the Chiefs going for the three-peat against the proverbial the long downtrodden franchise. This almost reminds me of the Saints Colts Super Bowl in that you have the Colts. I know the Colts weren't going for a three-peat, but the Colts, Manning had already won a Super Bowl. You had the
Mhm.
Saints team that was always like this traditional laughing stock franchise. So that's kind of what that would be here with Lions Chiefs a little bit. Um, and then just to mix it up a little bit here, I'm gonna let's go. You wouldn't like this one, but I'll go with an all bird Super Bowl. Let's go Eagles Ravens. I mean, look, the two best running backs in the NFL, right? Barkley and Derrick Henry. Uh, I mean, and and I mean Lamar. I think this would.
I thought when you said two best running backs, I thought you were making a really tongue in cheek joke about Hurts and Lamar. I was like, well,
No,
maybe Hurts.
no, no. Well, I almost did say, yeah,
The two
yeah. No,
oh,
no, Lamar. I didn't say that. If you're listening,
you did not say that.
I,
Oh,
I don't want to Jalen Hurts his feelings. Uh,
oh.
yeah, let's
Well,
move.
I know who I would be cheering for in that matchup at least.
Yeah, go ahead, funny guy. What's your next pick?
All right, I'm going to take. Oh, gosh, I guess I'll take another. I'm going to take another Lions matchup here. I'm going to go ahead and go Lions Ravens.
Yep.
Um,
And
just,
then Lions Texans. Are you going to take Lions Texans next?
I'm just going to take all Lions. I'll just take every Lions again. You already took Lions Chiefs. I
Hey,
guess I'm left with one
hey,
more. I'm left with one.
Lions Texans would also be a matchup of two teams that have never won the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's
For the
true.
record.
That is true.
For the record. So.
Um,
And actually, Lions Texans would be a matchup of two teams that have never been to the Super Bowl.
that's true. That's also true.
So, for what that's worth.
That's also the one that was floated out on Twitter as the into the script, the Lions Texans.
Oh, there you go.
This is the
There you go.
script. Yeah, I guess I'm going to take. I think this would be interesting because I like the offenses here, and I think they present two different sort of play styles. But I'm going to go Rams Ravens here.
That would, yeah. I was just thinking that'd be something. That would be a Odell Beckham.
Oh yeah, it would.
The Odell Beckham game.
Tony Banks. Tony Banks as
Tony
well.
Bank. How about Kyle? I should have been a bowler.
Want to be a bowler?
that was when I first heard of Skip Bayless. That was his go-to. Kyle, I should have been a bowler. That was his go-to put down. This is pre him caping for Tim Tebow every week. All right, so I got two more picks here. Let's see. I'm gonna go. How far? Hey, how about this? I'm going to go with this is far fetched, but what the hell? Commanders Ravens.
That's a all DC area
In
DMV match.
all, yeah, in all DMV. Yeah, we'll go with that. Lamar versus Jaden Daniels there. I mean, that would be something for a rookie quarterback to lead his team to the Super Bowl like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my last pick,
Oh yeah, you do have one more.
I have one more. Hey, okay, here's one. Let's go Rams Chiefs, a rematch
Okay.
of the
What's the
the
highest
Mexico
scoring game?
yeah,
Highest
the
scoring game?
Mexico City game from. Now that was Jared Goff was the Rams quarterback at that point, but
I am going to take for my final pick. I'm going to
Mhm.
take a rematch of a great game that we saw this season
Oh yeah.
with no turnovers. I'm going to take Bills Rams,
So you
which
actually have two. You actually have two rematches on your picks. You got Lions Bills and Bills Rams.
yep, yeah, which and those were those were back to back
Yeah,
weeks, and those were two of the best games that we've seen all season. So
absolutely. Yeah,
why not have them do it again?
I'd be all for it. I would. I'm not. I wouldn't complain. Would not complain at all.
All right,
All right.
so we
All right.
let's
So just you
recap.
want to do a quick recap. You go ahead with
All right.
your
So
four.
I went first. I took Lions, Bills. I took Lions, Ravens, Rams, Ravens, and Bills, Rams. You'll notice that I did not take any of the NFC East teams.
Yeah, I
Paul,
did that for.
I can't say the same for you.
Yeah, I did that for you. So I went Lions Chiefs, Eagles Ravens, Ravens Commanders, and Rams Chiefs. So nobody picked the Super Bowl rematch of Eagles Chiefs
Yeah, I
from.
don't think anybody wants to see that. That
Yeah,
is a
that's like yeah,
that is my personal hell right there.
yeah. That wouldn't be good for business.
That would not be good for anybody.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. You ready to get
Want to
into
move?
this week's matchups?
Yeah, let's preview the divisional round. The best weekend. This is probably the best weekend, right? Because it's four games, two on
And
Saturday, two on Sunday.
you're getting
You
to
got
more of you've gotten rid of the scrubs, so to speak.
yep,
Hopefully.
and then the championship. I mean, I like championship weekend, but it's only two games, and they're both on Sunday, and
Yeah, so you get more games this way.
yeah. All right, so let's start Saturday. So Texans get the early Saturday game again. This time at the
Uh,
Chiefs.
Texans and Saturday games, undefeated.
A
Matchup
tradition
made in
unlike
heaven.
any other.
That's
Yeah,
right.
tradition. Chiefs are laying 8.5 here. This game's going to be brought to you by Immaculate Grid legend Jason Babin. These two teams met Week 16. This was the Saturday before Christmas. Chiefs won that game 27-19. I, I got a funny feeling about this game. I don't think the Texans are going to win, but I think this game is closer than people might think. I think I may end up taking the points here with the Texans. That's my long-winded way of saying that.
I don't disagree. This will come down to, like it did last week. Can the Texans get enough pressure on Mahomes
Yeah,
to disrupt him? Honestly, I'd kind of like to see, win or lose, like to see Houston beat them up a little just to make it easier for whoever comes out of that. Because I'll be in the AFC side, I'll be cheering for whoever comes out of the Bills Ravens side of the bracket,
right,
probably,
right.
regardless of who wins this game. Um, I guess the Chiefs really haven't blown people out much either. It just seems like a lot of points. I want to take the Texans plus the 8.5 too.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just have a and all it could take is just like one little fluke kind of play here or there. I don't know. I just have a funny feeling. I think the Chiefs win it. I just to your point, I know the Chiefs were playing a lot better towards the end of the season,
Mm-hmm.
particularly on offense. But the challenge for the Texans is they don't have anybody who can block Chris Jones. I think that's going to be their downfall. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
that
be
Texas offensive line is really bad.
yeah, we'll be watching it. This one's on ESPN on Saturday afternoon, and then
We
Saturday
should we
night.
wait before we should also point out that this was the rematch of the fall of Deshaun Watson, where the Texans were up
Ooh, yeah.
24. Was it 24-0?
Yep,
And then
24-0. Yep.
yeah, and then the Chiefs came storming back.
Yep. Yep. And that was pretty much Deshaun's last stand because I think the following off seasons when he started demanding a trade or something. All right, Saturday night. This game's on Fox. I'm guessing this is the Brady game for the week. Commanders at Lions. Lions are laying 9.5. This one's brought to you by Steven Alexander. It's a name from the past. I think he was a tight
Alexander
end.
Hamilton.
I think he was a tight end back in the. I think he was a OU alum, so you wouldn't like him.
I don't like this guy already.
Yeah, you don't like the cut of his jib, as it were.
He was a tight end.
Yes.
Tight end from Oklahoma.
So random information that I remember. Yeah. So so this line started at 10.5 and now it's been bet down to 9.5. I feel like it could get down even lower before kickoff. A lot of people they like the Commanders, man, and it looks like you're one of them.
Whoa. I don't like the Commanders. I am jinxing them. I'm using my jinx powers.
Okay, fair enough. I just this is another one, man. Like the Lions just better be careful. I mean, I know they're now. We should say the Lions are going to have David Montgomery back.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like, and they're also getting back one of their corners, Rick Shaw. Yeah, Rick. Not the rickshaws, like
we should
not those rickshaws.
Did they find someone to pull him?
Yeah, they got Rusty out there to.
Oh, we should have taken some collateral, like his bag of cans or his other bag of cans.
Enos Rakestraw Jr., who's a cornerback. It was their first round pick either last year or the year before. He looks like he's
Rakestraw. That's what I do in the fall in the pine trees.
All right. Yeah, I mean the Lions. I don't know. I guess I think I may go with you. I think I'm going to go Commanders here plus the 9.5. This could definitely be the classic, like everybody's overreacting to Commanders beating a flawed Tampa Bay team.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like they beat them in the last seconds.
Yeah,
like it's. I think a lot of people. I think if I honestly had to go, if I was trying to put real money on this game, I'd probably lean Detroit.
Yeah.
They've got the bye week. They got some guys coming back. I kind of like Aaron Glenn's, his ability to scheme up ways to stop teams. And then Ben Johnson, you'd think with a couple of weeks off, he's probably got plenty of curveballs to throw too.
Yeah.
I don't know how good Washington's defense is really, like relative to like getting pressure. Are they going to be able to rattle Goff? Are they going to be able to stop the run game? Detroit's got one of the best offensive lines. You know what? I've talked myself into the Lions here. This
There
will
you
this
go.
will also give me a chance to just like cheer for what I want
For
to.
for what it's worth, the Commanders are coming in on a 6-game winning streak. Yeah, they won their
Yeah,
last 5 in the regular season, and then they
yeah,
beat
they beat Trey
Tampa.
Lance on a
Look,
last second. On
I'm
a last
just
second.
I'm just reporting the fact. Look, they beat the Saints because we missed a 2-point conversion.
That
When I
yeah. See,
so I mean, yeah, look, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, right? Okay, so let's
if
just
ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a
all that
Merry Christmas.
all that good stuff, all that good stuff. All right, let's move on to Sunday. So this first game, Rams Eagles. I believe this one's on NBC. Uh, Eagles are laying 6 points. This one's brought to you by Indomitian Boy Named Sue. Uh, this is a rematch of Week 12. Go ahead.
I've got a question for you. You know the song "Boy Named Sue," right?
Yeah, Johnny Cash. Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know who wrote the song?
was it not Johnny Cash?
It was not Johnny Cash. It was
Why
not. It
don't you
was
just
not.
tell me the name of the?
It was a famous poet, Shel Silverstein.
Okay,
Are you
that,
familiar with Shel Silverstein?
can't say that I am.
Oh, you never read "Where the Sidewalk Ends Fall"?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's like
But
a book of like famous poetry, but it's like all funny poetry.
okay,
Very yeah. I'll send you some stuff.
okay, yeah. Send me some reading material. Yeah.
Yeah, this is this is slightly lower down on the complexity level compared to Franz
Well,
Kafka. It's not
well,
it's not the Metamorphosis.
I was gonna say for I do have a Louisiana education, so you gotta help me out here. So,
I'm
but
I'm from East Texas, so let's not act like I like went to Harvard over here.
uh, these these two teams. This is a rematch of Week 12. This was a Sunday night game. Eagles 37, Rams 20. This was one of the Saquon's like crazy. I think he went over 200 in
Oh
this
yeah,
game.
I was looking at the stats for
Yeah,
this game. It's like I don't think Hurts had that much of a game. It was really just the fact that like Saquon, I think
yeah,
he had like a 70-yard touchdown rush to start out the second half too, which basically
yeah. That's
kind
what
of
it was.
like it was a semi-close game, and then he had that run on the first drive of the second, and it was like okay,
Two
this one's over.
255 yards rushing for Saquon in the first matchup.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Rams have improved their run defense in this one. We can only hope.
And
I
for
can
what
only
it's
hope.
worth, Puka in this game, Puka Nakua had 9 catches for 117 yards. Stafford was 24-36 for 243, 2 touchdowns. So yeah, it just looks like the Rams defense just couldn't stop. AJ Brown put his book down long enough to have 6 catches for 109 yards.
Maybe
So
maybe he was reading Shel Silverstein at that point too.
maybe he was. He could have been. I think I'm gonna hop on the Jinx bandwagon with you, and I'll take the Eagles -6.
With our
Look, the
powers
Eagle.
combined,
Yeah, let's do it. Um, I I don't the thing I would worry about with the Rams West Coast team going east. The weather's not going to be great. Um, so we'll see. I just I, I'll be rooting for the Rams for you, buddy. How about that?
I appreciate it.
All right, last game of the week here. This is the game. The heavyweight. This is the main event of the weekend. Ravens at Bills. When this line first came out, it was Bills -1. It is now Bills +1. This game brought to you by Immaculate Grid, patron saint /
Patron
cowboy
boy,
Billy Cundiff,
a
kicker
legend.
extraordinaire, a legend, Billy Cundiff. Who else could present this wonderful matchup? Uh, these two teams met in week 4. This was actually our first episode. We previewed this game, or this is one of the games we previewed.
Mm-hmm.
Ravens 35, Bills 10. This was, I remember our first episode. We did the real versus fake. We talked about these two teams, and
I think you kind of had a feeling that it could go this way, right?
oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it definitely felt like we were headed in this direction, and so it's nice to see I was right about something. But you're going Bills +1. I mean, basically this is a pick 'em, right? You're basically.
And I will say, I'm kind of picking with my heart here. I want Buffalo to win just because, like I said, they're like one of those fan bases that have never won a Super Bowl. And so I'd kind of like to see him get a rematch with the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game and pull it out to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean,
like, no offense to Lamar, but like the Ravens have won a couple, so like he can wait a little longer.
Can you imagine if the Texans somehow pull a miracle on Saturday? This game becomes even more important because now
you get home field advantage for that.
You get home field advantage in the AFC Championship, and you get to play the Texans.
That's a win-win right there.
I mean, like, yeah, this has all the makings. This is obviously will be on CBS. This will be the Romo Nance game, and for the CBS, because the Super Bowl is on Fox this year. Like this game and then the AFC Championship, these are going to be the two big games for CBS for the year. I don't know, man. I want to go Bills, but man, that Ravens.
That 35-10 looks pretty ominous right now, doesn't it?
Well, but and just the way the Ravens are playing, man, like with Lamar and what Derrick Henry, and man, and I will say we've been saying like this Ravens defense has not been Ravens like.
It's gotten better though.
It's gotten better. There was a stat I saw. I forget what week it was, but at one point they moved Kyle Hamilton back to like the deep safety, and since they've done that, they're like first in the NFL in most of their defensive metrics. So if Josh Allen, like, this definitely could be a statement game for Josh Allen. This is one of those legacy games, I think, for him, and for Lamar too, for that matter. I'm going to go Ravens -1 here. I'm just going to.
All right.
Just to, let me ask you this: is this game the de facto AFC Championship game? Meaning, do you think the winner of this game goes to the Super Bowl?
I think it's possible that they do, but I don't think it's a guarantee. Just because
it's not a guarantee.
Because the Chiefs have Black Devil magic lurking.
That's true.
So like you can't count out the super the occult.
That is true. So, all right. Okay. Anything else on the preview for the divisional round here?
No, I think we're ready to take a swing at our George is getting upset pick.
This is not good. Worlds are colliding. George is getting upset.
Okay, so
right.
Just
you're the resident upset expert here.
Well, I was going to say I have a lot of George Costanza energy, so only appropriate that I would be doing this. So I think for my upset pick, well, I mean, only it's either the Texans or the Commanders. You know what? I'm going to go with the Commanders. What the hell?
Really? That's
a bold. I
would have gone Texans here.
Well, okay, fine. We'll go.
You sure?
Right. Let's go. Yeah, let's go Texans. Let's go Texans over Chiefs.
Okay.
Why not? Let's go Texans over Chiefs.
Let's live a little. We are based in Houston. It's funny though. I work with 3 people at my office are from Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
Two of them are big Chiefs fans. One of them grew up a Bears fan. Um,
Okay.
so I've given my condolences to her several times this year.
I mean, look, up until the 80s, the Bears were one of the best franchises in the NFL, and the Chiefs were not. I mean,
Yeah, and the Chiefs were one of the not so great
they
franchises until
well,
Mahomes.
they
I mean,
were
they had some moments in
well.
the
Look, they
two
had
thousands.
yeah. I mean, I can reach out to my friend Blake, the Chiefs fan, but like they had some. I mean, they had Montana for a little while. They had the Elvis Grbac years weren't terrible. I mean,
They
they
had
had
Priest Holmes. They had Larry Johnson.
Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson.
Dante Hall.
Oh man, Dante Hall, oof.
Alex Smith.
Alex, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they had some pretty good years there.
Matt Castle. Matt Castle. Anybody?
I don't even remember Matt
I
Castle
remember
on
the.
the
I
Chiefs.
think Matt Castle got paid by the Chiefs up off the 2008 season that he had with
Oh yeah, yeah.
the. I remember because I was talking to a Patriots fan on Twitter, and and I said something about Matt Castle got paid off that, and he goes, and the Patriots fan was like, yeah, he took one of the greatest offenses in NFL history and drove them to like 10 wins of that season, which was basically that was all you had to do was be semi competent, and he barely managed that with that Patriots offense, and it was like that's how bad he was. And
Yeah,
so
that was
eventually you saw that play out over the rest of his career.
that was the year Brady got hurt, right in like the first game,
Yeah, the
and then
first
yeah,
game right after the 16-0 slash
well,
what
16 and
18-2, 18
yeah,
or 18-1.
yeah. The funniest part about that, real quick, about that undefeated season for the Patriots, I was in college at the time, and I was one of my
That's right.
roommates. One of my roommates was this guy Devin, and Devin did not watch football up until this season. Well, I had two, so I had three roommates. Devin was one, and I had another roommate, Daniel. Daniel decided he was going to play fantasy football with the rest of us for the first time in his life. And I remember the day of the draft that year, he said, "Oh, I know who Tom Brady is. I'll pick him. I know who
Uh-huh.
Randy Moss is. I'll pick him." And
He
Brady
just
and Moss, they have the
he had like
greatest.
50 touchdowns.
Yeah. And so, and then Devin, he wasn't in the fantasy. Well, he might have been in the fantasy league, but Devin didn't watch. He was more of he was actually a tennis fan. He
Uh-huh.
really big into tennis. He actually got me into watching, because this is like the height of Andy Roddick
And
and
Roddick.
Rafi
Yep.
Nadal, Federer, and all these,
Uh-huh.
all these guys. But I remember that Super Bowl with the Giants Patriots. I was in Louisiana watching it with my family, and he calls me on the phone, and he's like, I'm freaking out, man, because he really wanted to see the Patriots go undefeated, if for no other reason, like
Just to
because it
see
was
just to see that it happened, right?
yeah, just because like it was the first year he actually was paying attention to football, and like he just was really he was really, he was really like he was really pulling for it. So shout out to Devin. He was yeah he
Do you have any idea where he is these days?
I keep well. He was. I mean, he was in my wedding, and then I keep
Oh,
keep in touch with him. I keep in touch with him a little bit. I think he's actually out in San Antonio.
oh,
Uh,
nice.
he and his wife. Devin also was. He introduced me to Inside the NBA clips on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how he came upon these, but like he one day he found this reel of Charles Barkley clips from YouTube, and I think that
That was
was
back in the like glory days of YouTube, like the early days of YouTube.
right,
That one.
right. And I remember one of the first ones he showed me, it was Barkley. We're really going off on a tangent here, but like it was Barkley. They were doing a game in San Antonio, and somebody held up a sign. This is like when Barkley. I don't know if you've seen the clips of Barkley going after the San Antonio women. Have you seen these?
The what the like talking about the Riverwalk or whatever.
Right. So
Yeah.
so he was in the middle of this, and somebody had a sign at the game that said, "Barkley, you're an idiot," but "your" was spelled while you are, and Barkley didn't understand why that was wrong, and so like Kenny Smith and Ernie Johnson literally are having to give Barkley like a grammatical lesson on the air, and like Kenny Smith goes, "All right, Charles, this is your jacket while you are," and he kind of pauses, and then Ernie goes, "You're an idiot." Why? Why is why apostrophe re? So, and that I think Barkley. I think the punchline on the segment was Barkley going, "I don't have a college degree, but I got a lot of people work with me, do," or something like that. It's like thanks, Charles. An American icon, Charles Barkley. All right, let's move on to the lock of the week here.
Jerry, it's a lock. Kramer, you've had this thing under control for almost 3 years now.
You're up, buddy.
Well, the safe pick here would be to take the Chiefs over the Texans. You screwed me again, Costanza.
Well, you could, but you could.
Yeah.
You could do the triple.
We could take both sides. To take both sides.
I was gonna say you could. Well, or that I was going to say you could do the triple jinx by taking the Eagles.
I could take the Eagles. Yeah, I feel like the smart move is to take the Lions, but I don't want to do that because I'm afraid I'm going to jinx them.
Yeah. Think of it that way. If you're going to jinx somebody, who would you rather jinx, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'll do it. I'll take the dreaded Eagles over the Rams.
Because if you take the Chiefs, then we're basically screwing each.
Yeah, you screwed me again, Costanza. Oh, all right.
This has been one for the books.
It has. We've gone off on some good tangents.
Anything else you want to tell the fine folks before we sign off?
No, I think we're good.
When we talk to you next week, we'll be getting ready to preview the conference championships. Deion Sanders may be the Cowboys head coach. Who knows?
We should have a national champion. Am I correct?
No. Yeah. It'll be the 20th. Yeah.
Yeah, Monday night.
So we'll record presumably the night after that. And Mike McCarthy may be the Saints head coach. I have a feeling the Saints are going to drag this out, but
I got a feeling we won't have a head coach yet either.
Maybe, but who knows? Maybe somebody might have a new head coach by the
Coach Prime. Coach Prime.
That's what I'm saying. Cowboys might have a new head coach. Maybe we'll see. But until then, happy football, everybody.
Happy football.